All right, this is Nate House with Craft House Media.
And I'm Dr. Charlotte.
And thank you so much, Dr. Charlotte, for agreeing to meet with me. We met here at Maypop.
When was that?
September?
Was it September?
I think so. I think it was September. We were in the greenhouse just next door. And I'm trying to remember the things that we talked about, but now that anyone is like, oh, well, I think they talked about this last time, and now they're talking about the same thing. Your work is, you're a chiropractor, you do energy work, you do Reiki, and all of these things that help make people well. And so I think that's such a fundamental part of our mental health, of taking care of our physical health, and taking care of your mental health also helps you take care of your physical health.
Absolutely.
So there's that relationship that's going on all the time.
Yeah, it's always a combination of everything. As much as I love to try to separate it, it's not possible. And I've learned that very quickly. We are integrated beings. That's what we are. And I think that makes us each so fascinating and unique. Because, like we were just talking about earlier, your perception and your expectations on things are very different than what other people might have, right?
Yes.
But it also changes your outlook on life and what you perceive to happen next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes we create these expectations of it's got to be this way, or I can't be happy, or it's got to be this way, or I'm not working out, or
Yeah.
And so that's something I've had to really learn is working through things, and sometimes accepting that my limitations aren't a reason to quit, or it isn't a reason to just stop altogether, but that you have to do what you can do.
Yeah. Everyone is always going to be essentially limited by their expectations, right? So, and I don't mean limited in a negative way. I just mean that is going to be your container, your space, where you hold your boundaries, right? So managing those expectations and those boundaries can really have a huge effect on managing daily stress.
Yes.
Right? If you wake up in the morning and you expect to have a terrible day because the next door neighbor dog is barking and your alarm's going off, and you have this expectation going into the day that it's going to be awful. But that's the boundary that you hold yourself to. So kind of we're talking about pushing our boundaries and pushing our comfort zones and being like, maybe that expectation isn't the right one to have.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe we can shift it into, okay, this is the start of my day, but it's not going to be the end of my day.
That's right.
Yeah?
That's right.
I don't know if that all made sense. But
No, I think it does. I think we create these expectations, we create the scenario that we believe that we're living in, and then we carry it out. And maybe we don't question, like, I do have control over how happy I am today. I do have control over, like, just because my alarm's going off and the dog next door is barking and I can hear footsteps of the people upstairs, like, that doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing.
Right.
That we can retrain our mind, we can believe, like, okay. And it's funny, I had to really do this because I can hear my neighbor upstairs. But it was something that I had to, like, think about. Every time I hear footsteps, I can be upset that I hear footsteps. Like, why does footsteps have to make me upset?
Sure.
Or I can believe, like, oh, it's nice to know that someone's nearby.
Right.
It's nice to know that these people, like, oh, I care about these people and I can hear them.
Yeah.
Like,
That you're not alone.
another reminder of I can hear people that I care about.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a way of me changing my mind and changing expectations of what it means to hear something, you know?
Yeah. So I do have a neighbor dog that likes to bark early in the morning, and it used to bug me. And then I was like, perhaps this is my wake-up call to actually get out of bed and get my day started.
Right.
Instead of just sitting here, laying in bed, upset, angry that I can't fall back asleep. Maybe it's like really right? And so it was like, no, now I have this opportunity. I can wake up, I can have a cup of coffee, I can read a chapter in a book that I really want to, and I can take that time to really develop myself instead of just laying there doing nothing.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
different expectation of how I want to see my everyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read something on Facebook, so I know it's true. You know, it
Yeah.
has to be gospel.
Exactly. It's always true. If you
It's
see it
so
on
true.
Facebook.
If it's on, that's why we're gonna put this on Facebook too.
Uh-huh.
But what I heard is that good time management actually is good emotional management.
Yes.
And I've always believed that, okay, I want to be effective with my time. I want to take really good care to not waste my afternoons or my mornings. But when I think about, like, when I'm wasting time, it's usually that I'm not managing the way I feel properly.
Exactly.
And so, like, today we're in another St. Louis gray day.
Okay.
At least it's snowing now. That's kind of pretty.
Yeah.
But but the thing is that, like, I don't need to like I really have to conquer myself first. And what I mean by that is, like, evaluate, okay, well, how am I feeling about all of these things, especially things that I have no control over, like the weather, and how am I using my time then to do the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I can manage the way I'm feeling faster, I can do something better with all the hours that I have available to me.
Yeah. And I really love the fact that it's tied into emotional intelligence, right? Time management, emotional intelligence. Because, as I was just telling you earlier, for me, when I go through periods of procrastination, I know it's because I'm dealing with something. And whether that's fear, anxiety, sadness, there's something going on that I'm avoiding.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not necessarily that I want to procrastinate. And I don't like guilting myself for procrastinating either, but it happens, right?
Right.
But understanding that I'm procrastinating because I feel X, Y, or Z, like putting an emotion to that time management situation.
Right.
I think that is really powerful.
Yes.
I'm really going to start using that
Yeah.
because I never thought about that until you mentioned that.
Yeah, well, I'd never thought about it until I read it on Facebook. So thank you,
God.
Facebook,
Yeah,
for
thank you
teaching
for
me.
Facebook.
But yeah, so I think about those times where I'm not being effective. And sometimes too, it's a good indicator to me that, like, if I'm in that period of I'm delaying what I need to do, or I'm just kind of like wasting my time, maybe it's a good cue to me that I'm burned out.
Oh yeah, then you
know?
need to take time to rest.
Right, and that active work of resting is something that I think we don't always know what to do with either.
Right.
Like, we think, okay, well, if I just scroll through pages, I'm resting, or if I just, like, I was wondering, have they named the behaviors of how we use social media? Like, I've never seen that,
No.
but I was thinking, like, what are the behaviors that we see people doing with our social media? Is it like that would probably be tied to different emotions, emotional
yeah.
states, or I don't know, I'm kind of doing a deep dive there, but
No, actually, I find that really fascinating because I remember in grad school, people that they would be sitting in class, but then they'd be scrolling through Pinterest, right? And it wasn't that they weren't interested in the information. They were definitely interested in the information. But for some reason, their brain could not take any more.
yeah,
And so the mindless scrolling was actually their way of decompressing and getting rid of stress.
I see.
And that's how they explained it,
Wow.
right? They're like, I had to do this to just kind of let my brain shut down so they could actually absorb more information.
right,
And I thought that was really powerful. Like you said, just giving yourself the space to know that sometimes we do have to turn off. We have to shut down. We have to kind of like reboot, essentially,
yeah,
to be able to make that next step.
yeah,
And that's why I don't like guilting myself for procrastination, because I think it is my cue to be like, yeah, you've done too much. And you just need to rest and recover and recuperate.
yeah,
And maybe dive into feeling something.
Right.
Right? To actually getting into the deeper, darker emotions that are hiding underneath.
yeah. And I like what I'm hearing you say, because sometimes especially on days like today where it's dark and gray and more gray.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I give myself permission to realize I don't do as well on days like this.
Sure.
And I know that about myself, and then I don't have to spend a lot of time feeling bad that, oh, it took you an extra 20 minutes to get going today. You know, it's like, so what? You know, it's like, okay, that's done. Let's move on. And I think that's been helpful for me of just kind of recognizing what's going on so that I can manage what's going on.
Giving yourself permission to rest is key. And not the act of rest, like you were saying, like, you know, social media rest. That's not really resting. You're filling your brain with all kinds of stimulus, and that's really not resting your brain.
Right.
But giving yourself permission to take the rest and not shame yourself or guilt yourself or make yourself feel bad that you didn't get another thing done. That's actually really healing.
Yeah.
It's really healing.
Yeah. So that would be like things to actually rest. I mean, you could go lay down.
Sure.
But also then meditation might be a rest for some people. Doing art could be a rest, or, you know, something that you're kind of a moving meditation could be your rest.
Like exercise.
Exercise,
right?
yeah.
Even exercise can be considered a rest, right? It sounds strange. But for some people, that is how they release.
Because you're allowing your mind to not focus on a problem. You're not like being stuck on a wavelength that isn't serving you.
Right.
So today at the gym, for instance, one of my friends came in and she was telling me something really stressful had happened at work, and they might lose a client and it was all her fault, and she was just kind of owning and like stewing over this problem. And of course, I mean, I'm not part of her job and I can't say, oh, it's all going to be okay, you know, but it's like, it was an interesting process. So then we go do the workout, and an hour later we're both kind of exhausted and stretching and like cooling down. And it was interesting that she could then tell me, I realized everything's going to be okay, that this wasn't the end of the world, that even though this mess up happened, everything still might be fine. But even if it does go wrong, like, I'll be okay anyway. And so exercise was definitely a rest for her to recover her sense of self and to be all right. And I think, I don't know if we always know, like, we can do that for ourselves.
Yeah, I think it takes time to know what works best for you, right? So for me, I've transitioned from lifting weights to doing more yoga, because yoga was more of a rest for my mind.
Sure.
Right? Because the only thing I have to focus on in yoga is actually like just being there, present, not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past, just being there. And that's kind of like every workout, right? You're just focused on, can I get through the next minute, right? Can I get through this next minute? And it really slows everything down.
Yes.
But you have to find what works best. You can't overtrain, you can't undertrain, right? It's really about a balance.
So tell me a little bit more. How do you see people transition through their difficulties? Like, what are some of the steps that are involved there that you notice? These are, I mean, of course you're talking about maybe individual cases, but like, are there trends that you notice in people's recovery?
Yeah, there are trends.
Yeah.
And we kind of discussed this. A lot of it is mental. A lot of it is a mind game, and it's a word game, right? It's all about shifting what we say to ourselves internally and externally.
Yeah.
And so I notice these trends. People come in, they're usually just like, you know, they're just overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is what the word I'm going to put to it. And what I see is, by the time the visit's over, by the time they're done seeing me for about 15 minutes, they're like, I do feel better, right? It's kind of like your friend at the gym. Like, okay, I realize like everything's going to be okay. And slowly shedding that each and every time they come in becomes their process, becomes their routine. They learn the skills themselves. Well, if Dr. Charlotte can say these things to me, then I can say these things to me. And I understand like what is going on in my body, and I know how I feel when some things come up, right? And then they go to their defense mechanisms, like what works best, right?
Yeah.
Going in for an adjustment, getting acupuncture, getting energy work, like, okay, these things work, going to work out, like, and
Yeah.
so that they formulate all these strategies
Okay.
for themselves. So it is kind of like, it depends on where people are, right? I meet them where they are, but then just kind of build on what they already know to help them form their best strategies.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's really powerful, and I really love doing it because to see people grow in just a short amount of time. Some people are like that.
Yeah.
They get it. Other people take a little bit, but once you find the right key for them, the door just opens wide and they walk right through it.
Wow. That must be so exciting.
Yeah. Well, you probably do that too, without even knowing it.
Well, I don't practice right now. So.
I just mean like in general with the way that you talk to people and how you go about like your everyday friendships and your relationships with people.
Yeah.
You probably have an aspect of that.
Yeah, it's not up for me to fix things for people.
Right.
Yeah, I've accepted that.
Yeah. It's never really about fixing, it's just about guiding and, like I said, finding the right key to open the door. And that's it.
That's really cool. So I know since the last time we talked, you went for the training in Reiki. Mm-hmm. Were there any big transformations for you to realize, like, oh, this has been something I've been doing this whole time, or this now makes sense as to why this works? Or tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, that's so it's still something I'm growing and developing.
Okay.
But it is interesting because I've always felt connected to energy.
Okay.
And chiropractic and acupuncture already kind of dive into that world a little bit. So I guess it was a lot of realization of things that I was doing I didn't realize were also part of that world. And now that I have the knowledge background, I'm like, it's just different languages for the same thing, right? So I'll be experiencing something with someone and I'm like, oh, and this is like that acupuncture meridian and that organ system, and this is how it relates to your body, and this is the vertebra that's involved and your nervous system, and so everything starts to tie in pretty quickly. But I think Reiki really opened the door to appreciating that there's more to us than just the physical. I already tapped into that a little bit, but this was kind of like my permission slip to be like, yes, like you can reach people this way and you don't always have to address the physical.
Like, how does someone know that they need to see you? Like, sometimes I think people wait until I'm in such pain that I can't manage, and therefore I'm going to go see somebody. But by the time that's happened, they probably should have been seeing you for a year. You know, like.
I think that is the biggest struggle with anything holistic or alternative, right? The natural approach to pain and medicine is still something people are very hesitant to dive into when they're feeling well, right? Of course, they want solutions when they've tried everything else and nothing else works.
Right.
But when people are feeling well, no one thinks I need to go see a doctor, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, that's when our greatest growth can happen.
Right, because we're not all caught up on just dealing with the pain. We could actually grow and become very healthy.
Right, because we already have the vital energy needed, right? Our chi is in alignment, like everything is there, like just amped and ready for the next step.
I see.
So when you're feeling well, it doesn't hurt to go and just be like, I mean, it's like preventative care checkup with your medical doctor, right? People feel well, they want to. He's like, I don't do that either.
I don't have a doctor.
So it's kind of like the same premise, right? It's more about, maybe not, I don't really like the word preventative.
But I guess, I mean, even if we just put it in terms of working out, like, I go to the gym, I work out when I'm healthy, and I know that my body responds and I grow and become stronger.
Exactly.
And so if I could make that understanding in my mind that if I should go and improve my health working with someone, I'm healthy enough to be able to benefit from the guidance, the growth that could take place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. A lot of people wait to start at a gym or an exercise program until they've just kind of given up on their lives, right? When they're like, I'm just at this point, I need to lose 20 pounds, right? They wait till the last minute.
Right.
Instead of being like, no, I feel great. I'm going to go work out today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of like...
It goes back to those mental things that we put in there. Yeah. It's all connected.
Yeah. It's the container that we put ourselves in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you keep yourself, how do you keep yourself from feeling like, okay, I've talked about compassion fatigue with people. I've talked about like they run out of empathy. Like, how do you fill your own cup? You know, how do you take care of you?
That's a really good question, because burnout is
It's for real.
huge. Yeah, it's huge in the healing profession.
Yeah.
But for me, it's actually been focused on finding a community.
Okay.
Right? So connecting with other healers, other people that do things that I do, and just kind of letting it all out on the table. It's like therapy session.
Sure.
Right? Filling my cup that way. So I go and see a therapist. I get chiropractic adjustments. I do my own self-acupuncture. I try to eat well. So it's like when I feel that burnout coming on, or that like empathy fatigue, whatever you want to call it, right? That's when I will take a step back. That's also when I notice I start procrastinating more.
Yeah.
So I have these things that I know are key indicators for me, and so I try to stay on top of them and not wait till it gets too bad that I have to pull myself out.
But I think it's important for people to hear that everyone has to take care of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And that, like, I had a friend that we were talking about helping people, giving good advice, being like, and he was like, I can't show myself as weak when I've given this person advice. And I thought, what a difficult trap that is, because like, okay, sure, I know these things that I can do to be healthy and I can share them with people, but the moment I need that for myself, I have to pretend that I'm okay, and that's not healthy or helpful. And I think sometimes part of that wanting to be so perfect or wanting to be the expert, that's maybe what leads to all the helping professions crash sooner.
Yeah. Is
that they too need help. They too have to watch their signs. They too have to like get themselves back in that good space to do their work. And I think we forget that.
Yeah, that usually when that hits, it's something we call imposter syndrome. So it's like we are giving everyone else the great advice, but we're not taking it ourselves. So essentially we are imposters in our own lives. We're not holding true to our own beliefs, but yet we are trying to influence others to follow those beliefs. Yeah, and so it becomes this very major internal crisis, right? You start battling with yourself and your energy, because you're like, man, if only I could do this for myself, I would feel better.
Right.
Right. But then,
and who am I to share this or talk about being well?
Yeah. Yeah. Am I really the expert I say I am if I can't take care of myself?
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess that's goes right back to what you were saying, that we all do well in a community. We all do well when we support each other, and we all do well when we can like realize that yes, everyone struggles sometimes. Everyone deals with things. Right. And I think that's what moves everyone forward.
Right. Just having someone or other people really just being that outside perspective and saying the things that you need to hear that maybe you didn't want to tell yourself. Right. And that you're just hiding from. So it happens. But we have to sometimes rely on others to tell us what's going on. That's what makes us all so valuable to one another. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, maybe we'll stop there. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me, to share this great advice. I believe that mind and body connection is so real, but it's so nice to have people who are educated practitioners be able to explain that better than I can. So that's I think you do a great job.
Well, thank you. And I think if anyone wanted to connect with you, they can find you on Facebook. They can find you
Instagram.
What is your handle? What are you?
It's just at drcharlotte.stl.
At drcharlotte.stl.
.stl.
And so I'll put a link at the end so you can definitely connect with Dr. Charlotte if that's something that you're either here locally and want to get services or have questions that we didn't ask today. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and if this video can help someone, please share it with someone that you know. The reason that we do these videos is that we have, like you're saying, it's not that we believe, okay, I know all about this, but it's that we want to build a community of healthy people. We want to build a community of collaborators that are trying to really understand, like, what is it we're doing to support each other, even if you're not a practitioner, but like just someone that needs this knowledge or can share this knowledge. It's very helpful.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.